Hi guys, welcome back to Rootstem. Hi guys, thank you very much for joining me today. This is kind of a welcome back video because I haven't done a painting tutorial in a very long time and I'm kind of wobbling the camera already. I've taken a little hiatus just for work reasons, I suppose, from Rootstem, and I'm now able to get back into it again. I've managed to get back into the swing of things and we're going to be able to start giving out painting tutorials. Not sure about the battle reports yet, but I'm definitely going to get the painting tutorials back on track. Speaking of painting tutorials, we are going to be painting a DnD Orc. Everyone does this and it focuses. Well, mine doesn't. But there we are. Alright. We're going to be painting up this chap today. This has been given, it's a commission that's been sent across by a good friend of mine. He's asked me to get this painted up. We're going to get it painted up for him, no problem at all. And I'm going to show you step by step on how I actually painted this guy. This guy's been painted with a combination of sort of Slapchop, Xenophil, basic layering. I've done all sorts to this guy, and weirdly, including tea breaks, I managed to get him painted in under 3 hours. So to begin with, we're going to be hitting the model, sprayed it black, chaos black to start with, and then we're going to dry brush all over with Stormvermin Fur, kind of following the Slapchop technique. This is a technique that's older than I am, to be honest, and I'm in my 40s, but it's been revived as of late as the Slapchop technique. We're going to paint all of this all over the actual model. Next up, some Administratum Grey. Again, just dry brushing, making sure that we're not as heavy as we were before, but getting all of the edge detail done. And finally hitting it with some Ulthuan Grey. I don't like to hit it with white scar, I think it's too bright, so I tend to go for the next best thing, which of course is just one step down. So first up, I'm going to start painting the skin. We're going to use Deathworld Forest for this. We're going to make sure that we don't get it everywhere. We're going to be as neat as we possibly can. I am using a small layer brush by Citadel for this, for some high accuracy. The model isn't very big, so we will be able to I will be able to cover quite a lot of the surface in quite a quick time. Now, while we're waiting for the Deathworld to finish and dry, we're going to hit all of the leather and sort of like the leathery sort of patchy areas and the cloth areas with some Rhinox Hide. This is going to be a great base for both the browns and the reds going forward. Starting to highlight the browns, we're going to use some thin down Doombull Brown. We're going to just layer that over the actual Rhinox Hide and leave a lot of the recesses. You can apply a couple of layers if you're wanting to get that proper sort of like layering technique. That's great. I did a couple, but not loads, because of course we are going to be highlighting this in a moment. And for a final highlight on the brown, we're going to use some Skrag Brown from Games Workshop. I'm just getting that quite thin, and I'm kind of going to stab it a little bit on the actual cloth areas, giving it a more of a leather feel. The idea is have the red leather is more of a hardened leather, the brown leather is the more of a soft sort of cloth that's underneath, and then just jabbing it into the corners across some of the details that will get more worn and weathered and torn while the warrior is in battle. So onto the red hardened leather, we're going to start with Khorne Red. We're going to apply that into all of the areas, again just leaving that recess, making sure that we're thinned so we do have some of a transparency, allowing some of the previous underscore of a Rhinox Hide to actually come through. We're going to use some Evil Sunz Scarlet now to highlight the red. We're going to make sure that the crevices have still got the old red in there. We're just going to hit those highlights, hit the tops, and then of course just make sure all the creases have got some of the red in there. I did apply a couple of layers of this to give it a nice effect going forward. Now I'm going to hit the model with an all over shade wash. This is with Carroburg Crimson and with the contrast medium. It's normally roughly about probably 2 to 3 parts of the medium to the Carroburg Crimson. I'm going to go over all of the painted areas, so the skin, the leathers, all of that's going to be painted. Over white, of course, that's still not painted yet. We're going to leave because we want that Slapchop effect going forward on some of the more smaller details. While we're waiting for the wash to dry, we're just going to hit all the sort of wooden areas with Gore-Gunta Fur. Normally I'd use wildwood, but I find wildwood to be incredibly dark, and I'm just wanting to speed process through this. So I'm wanting a lot of the underneath to shine through to give me the highlight without me having to do much more work. So I'm using some Snakebite Leather contrast now on the arm wraps. This will just get them done up real quick, and we'll have a nice contrasting colour between the wood and the original leather effects that I've already done. Now, I didn't do the wrap around the hilt of the giant axe. I wanted that to be slightly different. I've gone for Hardened Leather from Army Painter. I like this colour, and a lot of people don't seem to like the Army Painter sort of like speed paints, but I do. Some of them are quite nice. I don't use a lot of them. I prefer Workshop's contrast, but yeah, this one for this particular, for what I needed it for, worked great. And I'm just prepping some of the bone details with Skeleton Horde contrast. Now I'm waiting for quite a bit to dry. I've gone for Akhelian Green and Space Wolf Grey that we're going to apply to the bottom bit of the base, leaving the columns. The Space Wolf Grey we're going to put on first. We're just going to slap that on, make sure that's all over the actual base, and then what I'm going to do is to put, while it's still wet, put splodges of Akhelian Green all over the areas that I'm wanting to sort of like create a different colouring pattern, mainly on the base. Now, some of you might not like me for this bit, but I'm going to use Talassar Blue on his hair. I don't know why, regardless of where the orc seems to come from, which fantasy realm or franchise, I always enjoy blue hair on orcs. Now that our contrasts are dry, we're actually going back onto the wash, over the actual skin, again with the Deathworld Forest. Really thin down this time. I'm just going to reinforce a lot of the skin tone while leaving a lot of the deep recesses. I'm going to add a bit of Scrofulous Brown into my Deathworld mix. As you can see there on a wet palette, making it nice and bright. This is going to be my highlight for the Orc Skin. So for the next couple of stages, I'm just going to go back over and reinforce a lot of what the wash may have dulled down. So a little bit of the Evil Sun Scarlet and a little bit of Skrag Brown on the leather details. So now onto the metallics. I'm going to start by using some Iron Warriors. This is quite a dark metallic from Workshop. I'm going to place that onto the weapon's axe, and of course I'm going to put that on the hilt, the right at the bottom bit of the hilt. Rest of my metals I'm going to be doing in Iron Hands Steel. It's quite a nice colour. I find it a bit lighter than the Lead Belcher. I can get a bit more of a mess around with the various different sort of like washers and stuff with it. So to me it's much more of a universal sort of iron, a universal steel colour. Now I did go for some Screaming Bell, mainly on a little bit of the belt. He's got some little sort of like clipping buttons, possibly so it could hang stuff from them. All of that I just kind of put on there with some Screaming Skull, and I did that, the Screaming Bell, sorry. And I did that around the skull on the belt as well. It's kind of big giant belt buckle. I did use Screaming Bell around it. Going for a traditional wash of Nul Oil on the metallics. This always makes sure that for me it darkened down enough to be able to be highlighted quite easily with some brighter silvers. Now on the metal on his arm I wanted to go for a different style, so I just used some Seraphim Sepia. This should give it kind of a brassy tone. The Seraphim Sepia, the newer ones, do go on a hell of a lot better than what the older paint used to, especially over silver. And then of course I'm going to be highlighting this. So while we're waiting for the washes to dry, I've just got to grab some Ushabti Bone. I'm going to paint in teeth, and I'm just going to highlight those those skulls that we actually painted with the Skeleton Horde earlier. Now I don't like to rush washes on metallics, so I'm going to go for dry brush in the base. I've got a small dry brush, an old school small dry brush here, and I'm just putting Dawnstone on to start with. Followed by a layer of Administratum Grey. And finally an all over dry brush using Ushabti Bone. Now this chap has a severed head in his actual hand. I went for some blood for the blood god on the back of it, just to make it look like it was a bloody stump. I also put a bit more detail into the model when you see the final piece, or just on the axe, and of course as if it was dripping onto his foot. Now I used a dry brush to highlight the Iron Warrior with some Iron Hands steel. Of course, that's a lighter colour than the Iron Warrior section, so we're just going to go over the actual weapon pieces. Followed by some Mithril Silver or Runefang Steel on all of the other metal items. So what we're doing here is just dry brushing it, just making sure that I'm catching the edges. And then we're using the same colour again to pick out a lot of the dints and divots and chips on this battle axe. I'm not wanting to have the battle axe to be rusted and old. I wanted it to be quite fresh, but I'm also wanting it to make it look like it's been damaged in combat. Not bad. Now I just need to varnish. And there he is, the finished model. Took me about 3 hours to get him done. And he is now done. Thank you very much for watching, guys. Hope you found this tutorial pleasant enough to follow. And of course, I've tried to make it as easy as I could. I'm going to be putting some alternative sort of paints on screen for the paints that I actually used to this. Hopefully my little chart stays relevant, especially with the current ranges, and I've got a funny feeling Games Workshop, as usual, all other companies are probably going to end up changing their range. Apologies for the camera wobble. Sometime soon, so hopefully this is still relevant. Well, thank you very much for watching, guys. Please like, share, subscribe, hit that notification button for more, and we'll see you in the next video.